Kaley Cuoco's journey is the kind of Hollywood story that reminds millions of people that no matter how many times life bends you, breaks you, disappoints you, or forces you to start again, you still have the power to stand back up, reinvent yourself, and shine brighter than ever before. And her life reads like a testament to grit wrapped in sunshine, a spirit that glows even when the world tries to dim it, because long before The Big Bang Theory made her one of the highest-paid actresses in television history, Kaley was just a little girl with oversized dreams, a fierce work ethic, and a heart big enough to carry rejection after rejection until something finally opened for her. And even when the world eventually did open its doors, she learned that fame didn't protect anyone from heartbreak, fear, insecurity, or the heavy silence of starting over. In fact, it magnified it, sharpened it, and made every step forward a little bit more meaningful, because nothing about Kaley's rise was accidental. She worked for every role, every moment, every breakthrough, starting as a child actress, learning the rhythm of Hollywood, navigating auditions, smiling through losses, celebrating tiny wins, and enduring the quiet pressure of being almost there for years at a time. And even when she landed 8 Simple Rules, a show that brought her household recognition, life threw a brutal curveball when she lost her on-screen father, John Ritter, whose death shook the cast and left an emotional wound that would shape the rest of her life, teaching her how fragile success could be and how quickly everything can change, a lesson she carried even when she stepped into the role that would change her life forever. Penny, the lovable neighbor on The Big Bang Theory, a character that grew with her, challenged her, and allowed her to step into a version of herself she hadn't yet fully understood. Kaley Cuoco's story deepens even further when you look at the moments the world never saw, the quiet nights when the lights were off, when the applause faded, and she had to face herself without the characters, without the scripts, without the laughter track, facing the raw truth that even the most successful people feel lost sometimes. And Kaley learned that the hard way as she navigated the transition from teen actress to global star. A shift that demanded reinvention, discipline, and the courage to step into a spotlight that often burns hotter than anyone expects, because success in Hollywood isn't a warm glow, it is a fire that can either forge you or consume you, and Kaley chose to be forged, choosing growth over comfort, choosing vulnerability over perfection, choosing to be real instead of polished, and this honesty became a part of her identity, a quality millions admire because she never pretended to be someone she wasn't. She owned her mistakes, her heartbreaks, her fears. And instead of hiding them, she let them shape her into a stronger, wiser version of herself, especially during the years when her personal life became tabloid fuel, when every heartbreak she suffered was magnified, every tear she shed was turned into gossip, and every misstep was judged. Yet even then, she didn't let the world define her because she knew that pain was not a permanent state, it was a passage, a temporary valley she had to walk through. And with each step she took, she held on to her belief that life always offers a second chance to those who are brave enough to keep moving, and that bravery became her secret weapon. She rebuilt herself after every fall, from a difficult divorce to losing friends to navigating Hollywood politics to realizing that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. But instead of becoming bitter, Kaley chose to grow softer, more compassionate. As Kaley Cuoco stepped into this new era of her life, she realized something powerful. Growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from stepping into the unknown, from daring to bet on yourself even when everything feels uncertain. And for the first time in years, she wasn't following a script someone else handed her, she was writing her own, shaping a new identity that didn't depend on being Penny or being defined by a single role. And this sense of freedom unlocked a fire inside her, pushing her to explore darker, deeper, more emotionally raw roles, the kind that let her peel back the layers of who she really was and what she was capable of. And The Flight Attendant became the perfect canvas for that transformation, a show that didn't just challenge her as an actress, but rebirthed her as a creative force, earning her Golden Globe nominations and global praise. And even though she was stepping into new territory, she carried her signature humor, her emotional intelligence, and her fierce determination, proving that reinvention is possible at any stage of life. And while the world applauded her new success, behind the scenes she was fighting battles that rarely make headlines: the exhaustion of producing, the fear of failure, the loneliness of rebuilding a life after heartbreak, the internal doubts that creep in when you're pushing yourself beyond every comfort zone. But instead of breaking under the pressure, She used it as fuel, reminding herself that every chapter of life demands a stronger version of you, and Kaley rose to that challenge with grace and unapologetic courage. She learned to rebuild her personal life on her own terms, refusing to let past pain define her future, choosing healing over bitterness, growth over resentment, and love over fear, and that decision shifted everything for her, because once she stopped trying to be perfect, once she allowed herself to be human, messy, flawed, and real. As Kaley Cuoco's life unfolded through these seasons of transformation, she came to understand something most people never learn until much later, that life doesn't reward the person who has everything figured out, it rewards the person who keeps showing up even when they don't, the person who stays open to second chances, new beginnings, and unexpected blessings, and Kaley learned to trust that process, embracing each new chapter with a mixture of courage and curiosity, realizing that some of the most meaningful moments in life arrive wrapped in uncertainty, disguised as challenges, or carried through the quiet whispers of intuition that tell you to take the leap even when you're terrified, and so she leaped, again and again, into new love, new projects, new collaborations, and new versions of herself, allowing evolution to become her lifestyle, not just her reaction to pain. And as she stepped deeper into her creative world, she discovered that she had a producer's mind, a storyteller's soul, and a leader's presence, the kind that unites teams, lifts up others, and brings ideas to life with energy that pulls people in, and this made her not just a star on screen but a force behind the screen, shaping narratives, fighting for representation, and refusing to let Hollywood pigeonhole her into one-dimensional roles. And while doing all this, she carried herself with the same relatability and warmth that made fans fall in love with her from the beginning, because no matter how much success she achieved, she never traded her authenticity for image, never hid behind perfection, never tried to be someone she wasn't, choosing instead to be a woman who laughs loudly, loves deeply, works relentlessly, and heals openly, showing millions that vulnerability is not weakness, it is power. And through her ups and downs, people observed a woman who kept building her life from the inside out, focusing on inner peace rather than public approval, choosing emotional maturity over drama. As Kaley Cuoco continued building her life on a foundation of resilience, evolution, and authenticity, she discovered one of the most empowering truths of adulthood, that healing isn't something that happens once, it's a lifelong journey of returning to yourself again and again, especially in moments when the world feels overwhelming, and Kaley learned to honor this process, embracing the idea that growth doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like taking quiet breaks from the noise, letting go of people who no longer align, accepting that some chapters are meant to end even when they still hurt, and giving herself permission to rest, breathe, and rebuild without guilt. And this emotional maturity allowed her to move forward with a softness that many people lose over time, but she refused to let bitterness shape her, choosing instead to see every challenge as a lesson that carried her closer to the woman she was becoming. And as she stepped deeper into her career as both an actress and a producer, she surrounded herself with people who valued her not just for her talent but for her humanity, people who recognized her leadership, her work ethic, her vision, and the spark she brought into every room. And working with such people strengthened her belief that success is not a solo achievement, it is a collaboration of trust, respect, and shared purpose. And Kaley's presence had a way of breathing life into projects, making everyone around her feel seen, valued, and energized, a rare gift that transformed her sets into creative sanctuaries where stories could flourish. And while her professional world was expanding, her personal world was transforming too, teaching her that timing plays a sacred role in life, that sometimes you don't receive what you want when you want it because life is preparing something better for you. And Kaley leaned into this trust, allowing new love and new joy to enter her life in ways she never expected. And as Kaley Cuoco stepped further into this renewed version of herself, she began to understand that true evolution isn't loud or dramatic, it often happens silently, in the private choices we make long before the world notices any change. And Kaley's transformation unfolded exactly like that, quietly, steadily, in the moments when she chose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, purpose over pressure, and love over fear, because she realized that the most important relationship she would ever have was the one she had with herself. And once she strengthened that inner bond, everything in her life, from her work to her relationships to her sense of direction, began aligning with a new kind of harmony, a harmony built from self-respect and emotional bravery, and this shift echoed in every part of her world, from how she approached auditions to how she chose projects to how she protected her personal energy. And people around her felt it immediately, the groundedness, the glow, the quiet confidence of a woman who knows who she is and no longer asks for permission to be herself. And with this new inner stability, Kaley tapped into creative depths she had never explored before, taking on roles that challenged her emotionally, physically, and psychologically, roles that demanded vulnerability, intelligence, and the courage to expose unseen layers of the human experience. And she delivered performances that left critics stunned and audiences moved, proving that her talent was not an accident of luck but the result of years of discipline, curiosity, and relentless commitment to growth. And as the industry began recognizing her as not just a comedic star but a multidimensional powerhouse, she stepped into responsibilities that many actors shy away from, managing teams, leading productions, making decisions that shaped the futures of entire projects, and through it all, she remained grounded in kindness.